What?
There, yeah.
Okay, very good. Good morning, Avram. Good morning, Shmuel. Good morning, Mike. Okay,
Good morning.
good morning. The last thing we did on Friday, we are on Chav Zayin of a base. We are on 27b. The last thing we discussed was when they made a mistake, when people daven early Friday night, and it was a cloudy day, they didn't realize it. Then they realized afterwards that they had prayed Arvit at a time, but they didn't really want to pray early. The Gemara says that they don't have to redo the Arvit. They still get credit for the Arvit because it will be a very difficult thing to tell. It's a tircha. It's difficult for the tzibur to tell them to go do the Arvit, repeat it later on. So therefore, they were lenient for the tzibur when they made a mistake and they prayed early than they wanted to pray. So now we're up to the Gemara of Amar Rav Chia bar Ovin. Amar Rav Chia bar Ovin, we're about 2 lines before the wide lines. You have it, Mike? You might got the Gemara 127b, 2 lines before the wide lines. Okay, how does the Gemara begin? The Gemara begins, Amar Rav Chia bar Ovin, Amar Rav Chia bar Ovin, right? Does everybody have it? Mike, you have it 2 lines before the wide lines. Amar Rav Chia bar Ovin. You got it? Very good. Rav Soli shel Shabbat be'erev Shabbat. The Gemara says Rav prayed the Shabbat prayer erev Shabbat. That means to say he prayed Arvit early. When it came Friday night, he prayed Arvit early. And we saw earlier there's a machloket. Can you pray Arvit before sunset? Because we said that was a machloket between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan. And Rav, following the position of Rabbi Yehuda, that you could pray Arvit before sunset, from Plaga Mincha on, you're allowed to play Arvit. That's what Rav did in practice. Rav Oshia took it a step further. Rav Oshia said, based on that logic, he even said you could even daven Saturday night, Motzei Shabbat, where you could daven Arvit also after Plag, before sunset. You could daven the Arvit. That's when he took it a step further, which is a big chidush. Because what's the big chidush? The big chidush is it's one thing Friday night, where there's a halacha called Tosfot Shabbat. There's an idea of adding to the Shabbat. So if you have a mitzvah to add to the Shabbat on the coming in of the Shabbat, when Shabbat comes on Friday night, you're supposed to add to the Shabbat. And Motzei Shabbat, after Shabbat, you're also supposed to add to the Shabbat. That means to say, whatever time sunset is Friday night, you're not supposed to do malacha up to the second of sunset. You're supposed to add something before that, a certain amount of time. So therefore, the fact that he in practice will go ahead and pray the Arvit early. So number one, you could say because the Tosfot Shabbat plays a role also, and that would allow you to pray Arvit early. You could accept Shabbat early. But Motzei Shabbat, Saturday night, when the Tosfot Shabbat is to add to the Shabbat, to extend the Shabbat, yet he also allowed you to pray Arvit before sunset. And what's the reason? The reason is because Rabbi Yehuda says that's the time for Arvit. The time for Arvit has to do connected the Karbanot. And after Plaga Mincha, according to Rabbi Yehuda, they did not bring the Karban in the afternoon anymore. So because they didn't bring the Karban in the afternoon, they brought it, according to Rabbi Yehuda, up to Plaga Mincha around an hour and a quarter before sunset. So now that's the time for Arvit. That's the time to pray Arvit. So now if that's the time to pray Arvit, so you can pray, he held you can pray the Arvit.
Rabbi.
Yes.
When we say Rabbi Yehuda, is it Rabbi Yehuda Nasi?
No, it doesn't seem that it's Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, because that's usually referred to as Rebbe. Usually it's Rebbe would be Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. So I would think it's probably somebody else. That's what I would think. Yeah. Now the question is, the fact the fact that you have an allowance based on that logic to pray Saturday night, to pray the Saturday night davening, Arvit, before sunset, because of this logic that it's already the time for, Arvit has come, the evening has come, and even though you can't do malacha, you can't do work until after Shabbat is over, until it's dark. But regarding Arvit, we can separate the prayer of Arvit, which needs to be done, and the malacha of Shabbat. We're gonna allow him to pray Arvit early, before sunset, Saturday night, but he cannot do malacha, but he still has to refrain from doing malacha. He has to refrain from doing work until it's dark. It's dark, the 3 stars have come out. Now, Tosfot points out that the case that we would allow, a person to daven Motzei Shabbat early is only under special circumstances, unique circumstances. Let's say he has to go to a Brit, to give a Brit to somebody. He's the Moel, and if he needs to leave at a certain time, and if we'll wait till later in the evening to pray and he won't have wine for Havdalah later. Only under certain type of extreme circumstances will give him the allowance to pray Arvit before it's evening. But in general, Tosfos says we will not allow the person. We will tell him don't pray Arvit early, Saturday night. We'll see more in the Shulchan Aruch about this. The Gemara continues. The Gemara now says, Rav Sali, again, so Rav Chia bar Rav, Rav Sali shel Shabbat be'erev Shabbat. Rav Ushia Masi shel Motzei Shabbat b'Shabbat. Rav Ushia prayed the Saturday night davening while it was still Shabbat. Now the Gemara says, Rav Sali shel Shabbat be'erev Shabbat. Now in the first wide line, Rav prayed the Shabbat prayer. On Erev Shabbat, Rav prayed early Friday night, Ome Kedusha alakos, or in Ome Kedusha alakos. Could he say Kiddush before it's dark? He went ahead and he prayed early Friday night. Are you able to say Kiddush on the cup of wine before sunset? Technically, it's really Friday. It's not. It's Friday technically, but you accepted Shabbat early. So if you accept Shabbat early, and now it's before sunset on Friday night, is it appropriate to say Kiddush on the cup of wine? The Torah says, Zachar et Yom HaShabbat l'kadsho. The Torah says you have to remember the Shabbat, to sanctify the Shabbat. And remember doesn't mean by your mind, it means it with words. Like we're going to have soon, Zachar es asher asa lecha Amalek. Remember what Amalek did to you. How do you remember what Amalek did to us? You remember it through what? Through reading the Torah. We have Kriyat Torah. We read Pashas Amalek. That's how we remember. So when the Torah says, remember the Shabbat to sanctify it, what does the Torah mean by that? Remembering by saying words also, by saying words of Kiddush. Now the question is, can I fulfill my mitzvah of Kiddush, the mitzvah min Torah of Kiddush, at this time before sunset? I prayed early Shabbat. Can I go ahead and get the mitzvah of Kiddush now? Because since I added to Shabbat, I could also, the mitzvah of Kiddush would also extend on a Torah level? Or do we say, no, I added to Shabbat, but maybe I have to wait till the actually dark to say Kiddush? That is the question of the Gemara. So what does the Gemara say? Tashma. The Gemara says, Tashma. The comment here. The Omar of Nachman, Omar Shmuel, Mispalel, Adam, Shel Shabbat, Berev Shabbat. A person has the right to pray early Friday night, after Plaga Mincha, before sunset. He has the right to do that. V'omer Kedusha alakos. And he's allowed to say Kiddush on the cup of wine at that time. V'hilchat hakavosei. And the halacha is like that he could go ahead and and say Kiddush early before sunset. You should know in halacha, some say that he should be careful when he eats the challah to also eat. Some say eat a kazayit. Make sure you eat a kazayit also when it's dark. But out from our Gemara, so far we don't see that. But there are some in halacha that bring that concept down. I mean, because technically, if you could I'm just suggesting an idea. If you could fulfill the mitzvahs aseh min Torah of kiddush before sunset, you should definitely fulfill the mitzvah of Sudat Shabbat. Having it at that time. That's what I would think. But again, there are those people that are particular that will, if they make Shabbat earlier, try to eat a kazayit challah also when it's dark. So the Gemara says, now the Gemara wants to know the following question. Rav Oshia Masli Shal Motzei Shabbat b'Shabbat. Rav Oshia prayed the Motzei Shabbat prayer on Shabbat. He prayed the Saturday night prayer on Shabbat. That means he prayed the weekday Amidah on Shabbat because he prayed Arvit after Plaga Mincha. Even though it's still Shabbat, he prayed the weekday Shemona Esrei. So the Gemara says, Omer Havdalah ala Kos, is he allowed to say Havdalah before sunset? Could he say, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech hamavdu bein kol l'chol bein ol l'chol shem yisrael amim? Havdalah. Could he say Havdalah on the cup of wine? And the idea would be, because how do you know you have where's the source for the mitzvah of Havdalah? How do you know you have to say Havdalah Motzei Shabbat? So the pasuk says, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat l'kadsho. Remember the Shabbat, sanctify the Shabbat. So the Gemara says you're supposed to remember the Shabbat, mention the Shabbat when it enters, when Shabbat comes, and you mention Shabbat when Shabbat leaves. So the question is, since you're already after Plag HaMincha, you're already at the time of Arvit, you can technically play Arvit, so maybe it's called the time that the Shabbat is ending. So even though Shabbat did not end yet, you're still not allowed to do Malacha until it's dark, but it's already called the going out of the Shabbat in a certain sense. It's close to the time of the going out of the Shabbat. So therefore, maybe could you so say Havdalah? Now, there is a dispute whether Havdalah is min HaTorah or Havdalah is the Rabbanan. Everyone agrees, Kiddush, to say Kiddush on Shabbat is min HaTorah. To say Kiddush, to say Havdalah is a question. Min HaTorah or min Rabbanan? What's the mitzvah of Havdalah? So now, because some might not use this drasha of remembering the Shabbat when it ends as maybe it's only a support to but maybe that's not what the pasuk is coming to say. It's just we call it a smachta. You could see sometimes when the Chachamim make a enactment, when they make a takana, they like to see it's alluded to, hinted to in the Torah. So maybe when it says remember the Shabbat, the kadsho, and we're interpreting both when it comes in and when the Shabbat leaves, maybe that's not the real meaning of the pasuk. Maybe the real meaning of pasuk is only referring to remember the Shabbat when Shabbat comes, only in the entering of Shabbat. Not that you have to mention Shabbat when it leaves, but we have a right to say that the Rabbanan have a right to institute that you should say Havdalah, and they could find that the pasuk is also hinting to this idea. So again, the question on the table is, can I recite Havdalah Motzei Shabbat before sunset? That's the question. Mike, you got the question or not? Can I make, and you know what the Gemara says? And the Gemara says the following. Toshma, come out here. That's the question. Again, Rav Ushia Masale Motzei Shabbat Shabbat Omer Havdalah Kos, or in Omer Havdalah Kos. Or he can't say Havdalah on the coast. So the Gemara says, Toshma. Again, Rav Tosfos says the only allowance for this situation that he should pray early on Saturday night is only because he has something of an extreme mitzvah that he has to do after Shabbat, and therefore he needs to do things earlier, or else that we would not allow him to pray early. But now he did. Can he go ahead and say Havdalah? Toshma. The Oma Rav Yehuda Oma Shmuel. Mispalel Adam Shal Motzei Shabbat b'Shabbat. A person can pray Motzei Shabbat b'Shabbat. The Omer Havdalah ala kos. And he's able to go ahead and say Havdalah ala kos, even though it's before sunset, it's after Plag HaMincha. Ama Rav Zera, Ama Rav Asi, Ama Rav Elazar. Rav Zera said in the name of Rav Asi, who said in the name of Rav Elazar, who said Rav Chanina, said in the name of Chanina, who said in the name of Rav. We have a lot of rabbis on this one. Bisad Amud Zeh, on the side of this pillar, Hispalel Rabbi Yishmael Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yishmael Rabbi Yossi prayed Shel Shabbat Be'erev Shabbat. He's showing that in practice, people follow the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda and of Rav, and it's also like Rav held, and this is the name of Rav, that the name of Rav that Rabbi Yishmael Rabbi Yossi, an earlier rabbi, he went ahead and he prayed in practice. He prayed an early Shabbat and he prayed the Midah early. You see, the fact that you could accept Shabbat early might not necessarily mean you have a right to pray the Arvit early. And now we see that they did pray Arvit early on Shabbat for a Friday night. He also when Ula came from Eretz Yisrael, he said, by the way, the report that you have that it was on the side of the pillar that he did it, Besat Tamara Have, it was on the side of the palm tree. It wasn't on the side of the pillar. Rabbi Yishmael Rabbi Yossi Have. It wasn't Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yossi, it was the other son of Rabbi Yossi. El Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi Have. And V'lo Shel Shabbat Erev Shabbat, and it wasn't the Shabbat, the Erev Shabbat prayer, rather Ella Shel Motzei Shabbat B'Shabbat Have. It was the Motzei Shabbat B'Shabbat. It was the Saturday night prayer that he prayed on Shabbat. So I want to suggest the following idea. It says, so what is he saying? That the story wasn't Friday night, that he prayed Friday night early. It's the bigger chidush, that he even prayed Motzei Shabbat early. He prayed Motzei Shabbat, he prayed that Midah early. Now, the Gemara says, one says it was on the side of the pillar that holds up the building. And the other one says no, it was on the side of the date tree. Now, so the commentaries ask, what's important to say where he prayed? On the side of the pillar, on the side of the date tree. So one answer that I saw given, that by mentioning the exact place, sometimes it helps for the memory. When you mention the place where it happened, it happened over here that he prayed. So some say that's easy to remember, makes you remember better the story. But I want to suggest the following. Doesn't it seem one of Yosef HaTzadik,
Good morning, Rabbi.
I never figured it out until now. Yosef H stands for Yosef HaTzadik, not for Yosef Harmon. We thought it said for Yosef Harmon. Yosef HaTzadik. That's why you didn't have that name, right? Okay. So I got a good smile out of some of the people on the screen. Mike and Avram were smiling at that, Yosef. Okay, so I don't know if you hear me anymore, Yosef. See, he's an anav. He's humble. He didn't want to hear praises about himself.
I hear you.
Okay, see that? Now,
I'm laughing too.
very good. I want to say the following. Praying on the side of a tree. First of all, we have to know in halacha. We have to look up in halacha. They discuss these things of praying outdoors. What the halachas are. It seems odd that he's praying outside by a tree, not inside a synagogue, not inside a Beit Midrash, not inside a Beit HaKnesset, right? So perhaps the reason why the Gemara is reporting an important point, perhaps. He said it on the side of the tree. He did it in hiding, so to speak, not in public. He didn't go into the Beit Midrash and the Beit HaKnesset and pray early Saturday night. Because then people will think, look, the rabbi, he prays early Saturday night. We're all going to learn from him to pray early Saturday night. No, he was particular to go by the tree, perhaps by the side of the tree outdoors. People should, in a place people don't see them, whatever. Everybody in a place and not the normal place, so he wouldn't be noticed. Perhaps that's why he did it, because he didn't want people to learn from it. Because we said it's only under special circumstances you could pray the Saturday night Amidah early. So maybe that could be a pshat. I just thought of it now. I'm sharing with the crowd. I think Mike likes the pshat. And therefore you should know, as a rabbi has to realize whatever you do, you're under a microscope. If you're the rabbi, you're a leader, they watch every move of you. If you're a big rabbi, big leader, right? Every move of all the great rabbis do, everyone is watching. So therefore, perhaps he wanted to do it in a discrete area. Now, if we take out the Shulchan Aruch, I'm going to take out the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch is in Siman Reish Samach Zayin, Sif Beis. In Reish Samach Zayin, Sif Beis, it says the following. The first it says you can makdimim, you can pray from Plagam Mincha. He says you could pray Friday night early. You could light from Plagam Mincha, Mekabel Shabbat, B'tfilat Arvit, and to pray and to accept Shabbat in Arvit early. That is and to eat right away.
Rabbi.
Yes.
So you could never pray Arvit before Plaga Mincha. No, under no circumstances.
Right. No, in halacha, we don't. So far, we don't see any allowance for that. Correct. So far, we haven't seen any allowance of praying Arvit before Plaga Mincha. I think.
So 1 second. In the summer, when they do early minyan Friday night for the kids and to be able to go back home early, that must be before Plaga Mincha, no?
No. Usually in the summer, Plaga Mincha is around about 7 o'clock. Because 6:45 is Plaga Mincha.
So that's they do it. Okay, I understand.
Usually the minyan is called for 6:30. It's 6:45, 7 o'clock. So
and when they pray, is that when they do Berachos, when they do Amidah? When they say the prayer? Where does it start? Because
I would say
you have a lot of pregame before getting to the.
Yes. I would say from Berachos.
From Berachos, okay.
Berachos, they should wait for Berachos before they, if they're gonna pray Arvit. And the Chafetz Chaim in the Mishnah Berurah says, since you accepted Shabbat early, therefore you could Friday night you could make kiddush and eat right away. And the Chafetz Chaim writes, and you could finish your Sudah before sunset. A guy could go ahead in the summertime. He could pray at a 6:45 davening or 6:30. Let's say sometimes Plaga Mincha might be 6:40. Whatever, he could daven Arvit at 6:45. Go home and eat a meal for over an hour. Let's say technically, if he finishes the meal and it's still daytime, the first opinion the Chafetz Chaim says that's good. You accept the Shabbat early and you pray. You accept the Shabbat, no problem. And others disagree. Others say that you need to you should keep the Suda going until the night and have a kazayit of challah at night. Why? Because why is the difference when it comes to eating the meals? Why do we say that there are those that say you can make kiddush early Friday night? You can make kiddush, start your meal early. You can start, let's say when sunset is 8:20, you can start your Suda at 7:30. No problem. You came home from synagogue, 7:30, it's still day. But when it comes to the Sudot, when it comes to the meal, some say you have to wait till it's night. Why? Because we learned from the Pasuk we just had in this past week's parasha. It says, Ichlu hayom, ki Shabbos hayom. It says 3 times regarding Shabbat, and it's talking about eating on Shabbat. So therefore, since it talks about the day of Shabbat, so therefore maybe hayom, eating today of Shabbat, so maybe you need to actually has to be in the actual Shabbat which is when the Torah called Shabbat, The Torah said, from let's say from sunset or whatever, dark until the next day. And the Chafetz Chaim says lechatchila is appropriate to be concerned for their opinion. So we have to see what other opinions say. But the Chafetz Chaim writes that in practice, a person who makes an early Shabbat should try to eat a kazait of challah also when it gets dark. I don't know if everybody is careful about this. The Chafetz Chaim just says it is best to be concerned for that opinion. So that is the story regarding now. That's the story regarding Friday night. Now regarding Motzei Shabbat, regarding Saturday night. So here we in the Shulchan Aruch is in Simin Reish Sadik Gimel Sif Gimel. By the way, Mike, what you said, according to what we're saying, you should never daven Arvit before Plag, correct? That's what it comes out, because our Gemara shows that Rabbi Yehuda says you have a right to pray from Plag HaMincha Arvit. The Chacham say you can't pray from Plag HaMincha Arvit. You have to wait till it gets night. So we have no opinion in our Gemara that said you can play Arvit before Plag, correct? We have no opinion. But I think there's a discussion about this issue that you're bringing up in the Aruch HaShulchan. Someone wants to look at it, and like by the laws of I think Arvit, the Tfilas Arvit or something over there, he discusses like the Siman Reish Lamed Gimel. I think he discusses this issue in more detail. Now, just getting back to the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Reish Sadik Gimel Sif Gimel. So what does he say in Reish Sadik Gimel Sif Gimel? He says the following. First, he says Ma'achrin Tfilas Arvit. We pray Arvit a little later, because we want to add from Chol Ala Kodesh. We want to add that Shabbat should be over a little later than it needs to be over. Now, then he says you have to be careful not to do Malacha until you see 3 stars. Then he says, Misha Haya Anus, someone who was in a very difficult situation, or he has to go ahead and so that type of person, like we said, he has a certain mitzvah to do, that he has to be out Motzei Shabbat very, very fast. So he's able to daven Motzei Shabbat from Plag HaMincha and to make Havdalah. But he does not make a bracha on the ner, on the fire, and is not allowed to do malacha until it's dark. So that's what, so under special circumstance, if a person finds himself in a special circumstance, he could go ahead and, what's the case? It gives the case. Let's say a person has to go to a Dvar Mitzvah. There's something called Tchum Shabbat. On Shabbat, you can't go past 2,000 amot outside the city. And so he went on Shabbat up to the border because he couldn't go further. He couldn't go outside the border on Shabbat. And he's waiting there till nighttime because he has to go out to do a mitzvah. And where he's going, he's not going to find a cup to make Havdalah on a cup of wine where he's going. So therefore, we allow him to do this. That's what the Shulchan Aruch says. The Mishnah Berurah says, that's the Moron HaMechaber. Moron HaMechaber says if a guy has a special circumstance that he needs to go ahead and make Havdalah early, Motzei Shabbat, he could do that. As long as he won't have if that's only if he doesn't have a cup of wine to make it in the next place where he's planning on going. So he says, but the Achronim say you should not do this. You should not do this because maybe if you're going to make Havdalah early, people are going to come to be lenient regarding doing Melacha. Because today, he says, especially today, and also he says, Chafetz Chaim says like this, in our days, the Chafetz Chaim says, our custom is to always follow the Rabbanan. It says in Europe, where the Chafetz Chaim is saying, in Europe, it seems in Poland, they would always pray Mincha until dark. They didn't play Arvit by Plag HaMincha. That wasn't their custom. They prayed Arvit after when the sun set or dark. So since they always pray at that time, so therefore you should not daven Saturday night early. Because since you're saying you're going with the opinion of the Rabbi Chachamim that mincha goes until dark, so you shouldn't pray the Saturday night prayer before dark. But Erev Shabbat, people are lenient because there's a mitzvah to add on to the day. So therefore they allow you maybe to go ahead and pray early Friday night. So he's making the distinction between Friday night and Saturday night. And he's saying that in Europe, in Poland, they didn't make there are those that make an early Shabbat and they pray Arvit early Friday night, but they did not do this Saturday night. They never prayed early. The rest of the week, the whole week they never prayed early. So therefore, Saturday night is no different. You should not pray early Saturday night. Okay, so that's what he says. Okay, so that ends that sugya. Now, the Gemara continues. Tefillah to Erev Ein Lo Keva, right? You have it in the Gemara. We are about 10 lines into the wide lines. Mike, you got it in the Gemara? The first word of the line is B'Shabbat Haveh. Tefillah to Erev Ein Lo Keva. Mike, do you have it? All right. Mike, you got it or not? Very good. The Mishnah says Tefillah Erev Ein Lo Keva. The night prayers doesn't have a set time. In contrast to Shachrit, where Shachrit, the morning prayers had it as a window. Some say you have until 4 hours into the day. Some say you have the whole morning till Chatzot. Mincha, we also had a discussion. How far does Mincha go? Some say only till Plag. Some say till the evening. When it comes to Tefillah to Erev, Ein Lo Keva, there's no set time, which seems to mean you got the whole night. The whole night to pray Arvit. The Amidah of Arvit, you got the whole night. Even though you have to say the Shema by Chatzot, but let's say you'll say the Shema before Chatzot, and you'll pray the Amidah at 2 o'clock in the morning, the whole night. That's what the Mishnah seems to be saying. Tefillah to Erev Ein Lo Keva. So the Gemara says, "My Ein Lo Keva." What does Ein Lo Keva? What does it mean that the night prayer has no set time? Ilema the iboy mitzalei kulei laila. If you're telling me it means if you want, you could pray the whole night. So then litany tefillah to erev kol halayla. So why did the Mishnah say that the tefillah to erev is the whole night? If that's the case, that you have the whole night to pray Arvit, if that's what it means, Ein Lo Keva, so why doesn't the Tana talk in the more simple language, which is more understood? Just say Tefillah to Erev Kol HaLayla. Say that the Tefillah to Erev is the whole night. Why use the language Ein Lo Keva? Has no set time. It's not set. Why do you use that language? So the Gemara says, Elamai Ein Lo Keva. What does it mean? It doesn't have a set thing. Command the Omar Tfilat Arvit Rishut. It's going like the opinion of this Mishnah is taking the opinion that davening the Amidah at night is a Rishut. It's not the same level obligation that you have to pray Shachrit and Mincha. The Arvit Amidah, if you have something, the way Tosfos explains it, Tosfos explains the following. The word Rishut usually means you have a right to. You have a right to do it, not obligation, not a chiyuv. But Tosfos says a person does. It's not just I volunteer. I can volunteer to pray Arvit. It's not that I don't have a mitzvah to pray Arvit. Of course, I have a mitzvah to pray Arvit, and I'm not allowed to just say I don't want to pray Arvit because it's a rishut. Rishut means, Tosfos says, not that it's something that it's voluntarily. Rishut here means that in contrast to chov, in contrast to the chiyuv, to the obligation of shachrit and mincha, This is a lower level responsibility. And therefore, if you have another mitzvah that's coming up to do, and that mitzvah, you lose out on that mitzvah. If you're going to do this mitzvah, the other mitzvah takes priority. That's what it means. It's a rishut. It means it's not the same level as shachrit and mincha. But just a person to say, I just don't, it's a rishut, I don't have to do it. No, that you can't do. You can't just say, I want to just not pray arvit. If there's some other mitzvah that came your way, and if you're going to go pray arvit, you're going to miss that mitzvah takes precedence. And the Gemara is going to say later on that even though the halach is that it's a reshut, the Jewish people accept it upon themselves like a chovah, that it's like a regular obligation, like shachrit and mincha. But this is a major machloket between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Gamliel. We're going to see if tfilas arvit, is it a reshut or is it a chovah? Is it the same level obligation of shachrit and mincha, or is arvit different? Now, I could suggest the reason for the question. Because shachrit and mincha, we know that the tefillos that we pray is corresponding to the korbanot. Correct? The morning, the tefillah in the morning, when you pray this morning, it's as if you brought a korban tamid, right? Esakeves achot taseh b'boker. Esakeves hasheni taseh ben habayim. You have a mitzvah to bring a korban in the morning. You have a mitzvah to bring a korban right in the afternoon. So since that's the case, so therefore, your tefillas hashachris, therefore davening in the morning is a very strong obligation because you have to, it's corresponding to the korban that was brought in the morning. Davening in the afternoon is a very strong obligation. It corresponds to the korban that was brought in the afternoon. But why do we pray arvit at night? What did they do at night? They didn't bring a new korban at night. It was just the leftover fats and the leftover limbs that weren't consumed on the mizbeach by day. The whole night the mizbeach was running and it was burning, consuming that. So being that it's not coming to a specific korban, it's coming to regarding the limbs and the fats that were from a previous korban that was already processed on the day. So maybe perhaps it's not the same level obligation they gave to that amidah as they gave to shachrit and mincha. So that's the machloket. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Gamliel, and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says it's a reshut, it's a lower level of responsibility. And the Chacham say no, and the Chacham say, and Rabbi Gamliel says chovah. Gamliel says it's an obligation like shachrit and mincha. So now the Gemara says, my ein lo keva, and the Gemara wants to say, what does it mean in the Mishnah? It's ein lo keva, command the amat tfilas arvit reshut. It's going like the opinion that says tfilas arvit is reshut. So ein lo keva means it's not set in stone. It's not set in the same way as shachrit and mincha. That's what it means, ein lo keva. Now, command the Omer tfilas arvit reshut. The Omer of Yehuda Shmuel. Yehuda said the name of Shmuel. Tfilas arvit. Tfilas arvit. Rabbi Gamliel Omer chovah. Rabbi Gamliel says it's a chovah, and Rabbi Yeshua Omer reshut. Rabbi Yeshua says it's a reshut. Machlokas Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua. Omer Abaye. Abaye says halacha kedivrei ha'omer chovah. Abaye takes the position that the law follows the opinion that says that it's a chovah. It's an obligation to pray arvit. Rava Omer halacha kedivrei omer reshut. Rava says, like the opinion that says that it's a reshut. That's what Rava says. Now, generally, when you have a machlokes Abaye v'Rava, the law follows Rava. There's only a certain amount of cases called Yal Kigam that the law follows Abaye. So here the halacha is going to follow Rava, that tfilas arvit will be a reshut. But like we said, the Jewish people accepted upon themselves like a chovah. Okay. Now the Gemara is going to bring a very interesting story about some background regarding this halacha of tfilas arvit reshut, but tfilas arvit is a chovah. Tana Rabbanon. Ma'aseh b'talmid echad. There was a story with a certain student, Sheba Lifnei Rabbi Yeshua. A certain student that came in front of Rabbi Yeshua. V'omalei, and he said to Rabbi Yeshua, he asked Rabbi Yeshua, the student asked Rabbi Yeshua the following question. Mike, you have it in the Gemara? He says, Tfilat avit reshut or chova? He asked Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua, Tfilat avit, is it a reshut or is it a chova? Amalei reshut. Rabbi Yeshua says it's a reshut. It's not a chova, it's a reshut. It's not the same obligation as shachrit and mincha. Bo lefnei Rabbi Gamliel. He came in front of Rabbi Gamliel, and Rabbi Gamliel was the nasi. He was the leading rabbi. Amalei, and he said to him, Filat avit reshut or chova? He wants to know, what is your opinion? Is Filat avit reshut or Filat avit chova? I want to know the different opinions of the rabbis. Amalei, so Rabbi Gamliel told him chova. Rabbi Gamliel said that Filat avit is a chova. It's the same level as shachrit and mincha. Amalei. So that student said, Hello, Rabbi Yishmael, Amalei reshut. You're saying it's a chovah, but Rabbi Yeshua, I heard him say that it's a reshut. Amalei. So Rabbi Gamliel said, Hamteim ad sheyekonsu balei trisin, the Beit HaMidrash. Wait until the Chachamim come into the Beit Midrash. Wait until the rabbis come in. And the rabbis are referred to as Balei Tresin. Trace is a shield. You know, what do you go to shield? You have a shield that protects you, right? It protects you from, these are the rabbis that are fighting in halakha. They're warriors in halakha, not warriors in the physical sense. With arrows and spears at each other. Warriors when they fight over the understanding of what the halacha is. Wait until sheyekonsu balei tresin, the Beit Midrash. Wait until they're going to come to the Beit Midrash, and wait till they come in. You'll see. You'll get an answer, good answer to your question. Kishenichusu balei tresin. When the balei tresin, when the other rabbis came to the Beit Midrash, Ahmad has shoel v'sha'al. This person stood up, and the one who asked him the question stood up and asked the following question: Tfilas avit reshut or chova? Is tfilas avit a reshut or a chova? Amalei Rabbi Gamliel. So Rabbi Gamliel responded, chova. Arvit is a chova. Amalei Rabbi Gamliel Chachamim. Rabbi Gamliel says to the Chachamim, Klum yesh adam shecholek b'davar zeh. Is there anybody that argues on this law that tfilas arvit is a chovah? Amalei Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says lav. No, nobody. It sounds like that Rabbi Yeshua represented all the other Chachamim. Because Rabbi Gamliel is the Nasi, top position, and it sounds like Rabbi Yeshua is the number 2 man, because he's responding on behalf of all the Chachamim. So most likely he's the second greatest rabbi there, or at least in position of leadership. Amalei. So Rabbi Gamliel says to Rabbi Yeshua, V'halo mishimcha amru li reshut. I heard that in your name, they said that you said it's a reshut, that you disagree with me, that you argue with me. Amalei. So Rabbi Gamliel said to the following. So Amalei. So Rabbi Gamliel continues, that Yoshua amod al raglacha. Please stand up. V'idu b'cha. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to testify regarding the situation. You know, Amad Rabbi Yeshua al raglav. Rabbi Yeshua stood on his feet, v'amar, and he said. Now it seems, by the way. Okay, let's see. So what he stood up and he says, Rabbi Yeshua said the following. Again, everyone have what's happening. The student went to Rabbi Gamliel, and Rabbi Gamliel's Beit Midrash, and he said, Rabbi Gamliel is a chova reshut. Rabbi Gamliel says chova. And Rabbi Gamliel calls out to the crowd, did anybody disagree with me? Rabbi Yeshua says, nobody disagrees with me. Now Rabbi Gamliel says to Rabbi Yeshua, please stand up. We're going to be testifying that you said it. You said not like my opinion, and you said it's a reshut. He says, he said, he said, if I would be alive, 1 second, I skipped the line. Yes, Rabbi Gamliel said, Rabbi Yeshua, I heard that they said in the name of your name that it's a reshut. I heard a report that you said it's a reshut. And Rabbi Gamliel told Rabbi Yeshua to stand up, and you need to answer to this. So Amar Rabbi Yeshua Aglav, Amar Rabbi Yeshua got up and he said, if I would be alive, Rabbi Yeshua says, if I would be alive and he would be dead, the one who asked the question, a person who's alive could contradict a person who's dead, but the dead man can't contradict what the live person will say. But if he was not alive, I could deny I said it. But now that he's alive, I can't deny that I said it. Now, obviously, we have to talk about this in a minute. A live person could contradict what a dead person has to say. But I am alive, and he's chai. How could a person who's alive contradict someone else who's alive? And therefore, yes, I did say Tfilas Arvit is Rishut. I did say it's not a Chovah. So what happened over here? It seems that Rabbi Gamliel, as the Nasi, as the leader, he felt that the law should follow his opinion. I presume, and therefore he felt it wouldn't be correct for Rabbi Yeshua to argue with his opinion. That's what it would seem. Rabbi Yeshua himself says, if the person who made the report that said that I said it was a reshut was dead, I would deny that I said it. Why would I deny I said it? I don't want to cause this, because Rabbi Gamliel might feel hurt that I'm arguing on him, and whatever the reason is, and he feels it's not right for me to argue on him. So because of that, I would deny to say that I said such a thing, to make peace. Rabbi Gamliel won't be angry and upset at me. But in practice, I go ahead and I say what I need to say. Somebody in private asks me, is it Tfilas Arvit or Chovah? I tell them what it is. Rabbi Gamliel feels that, maybe if I would be in Rabbi Gamliel's presence in front of him, I would deny it. Like I did deny it when Rabbi Gamliel went up and he says, anybody disagrees. Rabbi Yeshua says, nobody disagrees. Why did Rabbi Yeshua say I disagree? Because it was probably he felt that Rabbi Gamliel felt that it'll be disrespectful if he will argue on him, especially in his own Beit Midrash. And Rabbi Gamliel is running this Beit Midrash. He's the one, his synagogue, his shul. So maybe Rabbi Yeshua felt it wouldn't be derech eretz to disagree with Rabbi Gamliel in his presence, but not in his presence. He told anybody who had any halakha question, I tell you what I feel the halakha is. But in front of Rabbi Gamliel, I would have said something different. And Rabbi Gamliel, and that's perhaps explanation of what Rabbi Yeshua is saying. I could have denied it if the reporter was not here, was dead, and I would have denied it to create that Rabbi Gamliel should not be upset. There shouldn't be machloket. But now I can't deny it. Okay. Now Rabbi Gamliel, what did Rabbi Gamliel do? They said, Rabbi Gamliel Yoshev v'doresh. Rabbi Gamliel was still darshaning. Rabbi Yeshua Omer Araglav. Rabbi Yeshua was still standing, and Rabbi Gamliel did not tell him to come sit down. And it's like Rabbi Yeshua has to stand until Rabbi Gamliel gives permission to sit down. And the people were very upset at Rabbi Gamliel. They thought Rabbi Gamliel was being too strong with Rabbi Yeshua. And Sharananu Kol Ha'am, until the rest of the people complained and they said to Amru l'chutzpis hamaturgaman. They said to Chutzpis, that was the one who translated it and said over what Rabbi Gamliel said. They used to have the rabbi would say something, and they would have somebody who would be like interpret it and explain it and expound on it to the people. So until they told the translator, Amod, stop, v'amad, and he stopped. You have to stop talking. Rabbi Yeshua needs to sit down. And Rabbi Gamliel is being too strong. Sometimes in life, people feel it's necessary to be strong, to be disciplined if for certain reasons, but sometimes it might be a little bit too much for the people. And the feeling was that Rabbi Gamliel, even though he had good intentions, he went too far. And therefore, Omri, the Chacham, said, Ad kama nitzarei v'nezel. How much could we go and allow Rabbi Gamliel being strong with Rabbi Yeshua? Rabbi Yeshua is pretty much of equal rank to Rabbi Gamliel. It's true Rabbi Gamliel is the Nasi, but Rabbi Yeshua is in his league. The major league players, right? They're all MVP, they're all all-stars. They're all on the all-star team. So it's not like it's two different minor leagues and major leagues. For Rosh Hashanah, Ishtake Tzarei. Last year by Rosh Hashanah, Rabbi Gamliel was strong with Rabbi Yeshua. There was a whole story about when Rosh Hashanah should fall out and when Yom Kippur should be. And Rabbi Gamliel was strong with Rabbi Yeshua. B'choros, in the story of Bechoros, from Master Rabbi Sadak, by the story over there, also Tzarei, he also caused a little extra pain to Rabbi Yeshua. Again, he thought that was the right thing to do. And Hachinam Tzarei, and here's also the third story that he's making it difficult for him. So now if we have three stories, in America, they say 3 strikes, you're out. So in a certain sense, they're saying 3 times we know it's like a chazakah. So 3 times Rabbi Gamliel was strong with him by the story of Yom Kippur, by the story of Bechorot, and now Tov and Avrei. We should remove him from the Nasi. Rabbi Gamliel needs to be removed from the Nasi. He can't be the Nasi. If he's acting this way, he's being too strong. This is not the way we feel that this is wrong. This is too strong for the generation, and therefore Rabbi Gamliel had a strong approach, and he thought that would be the right way to do it. But the people felt at this point it went too far, and Rabbi Gamliel needs to step down from the position of Nasi. That's what they want to do, and we'll continue tomorrow more about who's going to take over. You want to bring, you need someone, right person, right qualifications, and we'll see more tomorrow. An amazing story in the Gemara. Amazing, right, Mike? Amazing Gemara, what? Tomorrow to be continued. Have a great day, everybody.
I was like, Rabbi, amazing. Rabbi,
You.
he was only with him, only with Rabbi Yeshua that he was tough, Rabbi Gamliel, or with many rabbis?
We're gonna see tomorrow that he did not allow only certain types of people, he said, could come to the Beit Midrash. He had a certain level. He was very disciplined.
Yeah, and then they actually got him out, and someone else came in, and he allowed Rabbi Akiva came in, right? And he allowed everybody to come, and the Beit Midrash became much more prosperous, right?
Right. That's tomorrow's.
And then Rabbi Gamliel came back after, right?
Right, and it was Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah that they appointed as the Nasi. They're going to appoint Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Akiva.
It's not Rabbi Akiva. Never Rabbi Akiva.
They're going to consider Rabbi Akiva for the position, but he didn't make it. We're going to see tomorrow. He's one of the top considerations for the job.
Yes.
Lahavdil in Washington. Lahavdil. They're trying to figure out who's going to take the position, right? Right. So here the question was, we have to fill the position. Who's going to be the man take the position for Rabbi Gamliel? And we'll see tomorrow. Rabbi Akiva was on the list, but he didn't make it in the position.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Have a beautiful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
By the way, Mike,
yes.
It's on YouTube. The shiurim are on YouTube.
I see it. It says live on YouTube on top.
Yes, sir. I'm going to text you if you can look. If you ever want to look over.
Click, Mike. You can just click the YouTube thing, and we'll take you to your thing.
Rabbi, I'm good. I'm good with live.
I'm
trying to stick with the live.
I want you at live, but if you ever want to review some of the old shurim, besides, I want you both. I want you live, and I want you to review the other ones.
Okay, Rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You
Have
too.
a good day. Bye bye.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye,
All right,
Akiva.
thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Bye-bye.